The banking app asked if I wanted to refresh the balance. I almost laughed, as if seeing it twice would make it less absurd. $450,000. The number glowed against the pale morning light spilling through my kitchen window. My coffee had gone cold beside the sink, untouched. Before I could call the bank, my phone vibrated with a message. Thanks for the house and the car, Mom. I knew you'd understand. Love you. I read it once, then again a smile crossed my face, not because it was funny, but because my daughter had overlooked one tiny detail that would change everything before sunset. I opened the old cedar box tucked behind a row of books in the living room. Inside lay a weathered membership card with faded gold lettering. I brushed a thumb across its worn edges before placing it back where it belonged. Some things carried more authority than they appeared to. I closed the lid and went about my morning. People often imagined I had become wealthy overnight after selling my company years earlier. The truth was quieter. After my husband died, I sold the business and placed nearly everything into a charitable family trust that funded scholarships and emergency housing. I remained one of its trustees, but the money was no longer simply mine. Every transaction above a modest amount required multiple approvals, legal verification, and documentation. The bank card connected to that account existed only for trustee identification during emergencies. It wasn't a limitless credit card. It certainly wasn't a shopping card. Only 3 people in the world knew that. Apparently, my daughter believed she was the 4th. By lunchtime, my phone had become a parade of missed calls, first the dealership, then the bank, then an attorney representing the trust. Unauthorized purchases had triggered automatic fraud protocols. A luxury home deposit. A sports utility vehicle, furniture packages, designer appliances, nearly $500,000. Everything had frozen before completion. No money had actually vanished. It simply looked that way while the transactions waited for verification. I thanked everyone for calling. I'll handle it, I said. Then I hung up. My daughter, Claire, had always been generous with other people's confidence. As a little girl, she rescued stray kittens. As a teenager, she defended classmates others ignored. Somewhere in adulthood, generosity slowly mixed with entitlement. Whenever life became difficult, I quietly solved it. Tuition, medical bills. Apartment rent after a breakup, credit card debt from a failed boutique. Every rescue felt temporary. Looking back, perhaps I had been teaching the wrong lesson all along. That evening, she posted photographs online, standing beside a luxury vehicle, holding oversized keys in front of a beautiful stone house caplet. Dreams really do come true. Hundreds of congratulations arrived. I didn't leave a comment. The next morning, someone knocked so hard my framed family photograph rattled against the hallway wall. When I opened the door, Claire stood there wearing yesterday's clothes. Mascara had dried beneath her eyes in uneven lines. Her hands clutched a small envelope containing house documents that no longer meant anything. Behind her, a taxi pulled away, not the luxury vehicle from the photographs. She stepped inside without asking. They took everything. Her voice barely reached me. I nodded toward the dining table. She sat. The envelope remained unopened between us. The dealership canceled the sale. I waited. The property transfer stopped. Silence. My fiancé's parents think I lied. She stared at the table. I don't understand. I poured tea into 2 cups. Neither of us drank. Finally, she whispered, "Why didn't the card work?" There it was. Not "I'm sorry," not "I shouldn't have done it," only confusion that reality had refused her expectations. I walked to the bookshelf and retrieved the cedar box. She watched without speaking. When I placed the old membership card beside her teacup, she frowned. "I've never seen that, I know." She turned it over carefully. The faded emblem belonged to the charitable trust. Your father helped create this foundation before he died. She looked at me. The account linked to the card doesn't belong to me. She blinked. It belongs to families who lost homes after fires, students who couldn't afford university, people rebuilding their lives. The room grew impossibly still. I thought, I know what you thought. You always said everything would be mine someday. I said my love would. Not my money, not what was promised to others. She covered her face. For several minutes, only the ticking kitchen clock filled the room. When she finally spoke, her voice sounded smaller than I remembered. I didn't even ask no, I assumed. Yes, I never wondered who the money was actually for. I reached across the table not to comfort her immediately, but simply to stop the distance from growing any wider. We confuse access with ownership more often than we admit. The trust decided not to pursue criminal charges. The purchases had never fully completed. Legally, everything could simply be reversed. Some trustees disagreed. Others believed education sometimes protected people better than punishment. I agreed. There was one condition. Claire would spend 6 months volunteering with the housing program the trust supported. She accepted before hearing what the work involved. The first few weeks exhausted her. She painted damaged walls, sorted donated clothing, helped families carry furniture into apartments no larger than her former living room. She met children who celebrated having their own bedroom, even if it contained only a mattress and one lamp. One rainy afternoon, she called me. "I met a woman," she said quietly. "She lost everything in a flood." I listened. She kept apologizing because she thought the donated blankets weren't new enough. Her voice cracked. I almost spent enough money to house 20 families. Neither of us spoke for a while. Some realizations require silence to become permanent. Autumn arrived with cooler mornings, and Claire visited more often. Sometimes we cooked together. Sometimes we simply watched birds gather outside the kitchen window. Our conversations became smaller but somehow more honest. One evening, she handed me an envelope. Inside was the old membership card. Behind it rested a handwritten note. Thank you for showing me the difference between being trusted and believing I was entitled. I slipped both into the cedar box. The card looked exactly as it always had, only the hands that returned it had changed. I locked the box, carried my tea to the porch, and watched the last light settle across the garden. Love had survived. It simply no longer came wrapped in permission to take whatever someone else had spent a lifetime protecting.